Okay, just 1 minute. Yep. Okay, so let me get started from the beginning. I'm Aishwarya Kumar, APAC leader of Viz For Social Good. Today we have our UNDP Labs team with us, and this is our kickoff event for the project, for this project. And let me do my introduction, and then we'll do a quick round of introduction from the Viz For Social Good team. And also then we'll move on to the UNDP team to get introduced. And then we'll be looking into what is Viz For Social Good, a quick introduction about Viz For Social Good, and then a brief introduction about UNDP team that will be handed over to this UNDP team again. And then we'll have a question and answer session, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so as I said, I'm Aishwarya Kumar. I work for LeaseWorks, which is an aviation leasing industry, and I'm part of analytics field for the past 13 years. And then personally, I run an NGO for the last 15 years, and we focus more on empowerment of visually impaired to make them independent. Let's move on to Vanita or Fred.
Go ahead, Fred.
Okay.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah. So good evening. I'm Frederick. I'm based in Brisbane, Australia, and I've noticed there's someone from Perth in Australia, which is good. So I'm part of the lead team as well in the operation area. So it means I basically get to connect you guys with awesome organizations like Mirko's organization. So I really love doing that kind of events because I think it's a very good cause to help small charities, big charities, and medium charities. So I love doing that kind of event. So nice to meet you all. I'm so pleased that we can kick off the event tonight or this morning, wherever you are. Vanita.
Thanks, Fred. Thank you.
Thanks.
Vanita.
For me, it's good morning, everyone. I'm based in Toronto, Canada. I'm Vanitha Lucas, and I'm co-executive director of Viz For Social Good. I am a data and analytics fan. During my day job, I've been working in data analytics. I currently work at Tableau, which is part of the Salesforce organization, and been with Viz For Social Good about 3 or 4 years. And it's such an amazing journey that it's been, just from a one-man show to like a whole team of people, volunteers around the world. And we're really looking forward to this project with the UNDP Accelerator Labs. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, Vanita. T, would you like to go next?
Hi, thanks, Aishwarya. Hi, everyone. I'm T. I'm based in Singapore. I'm also an APAC lead for Viz For Social Good, together with Aishwarya. We are very happy to see many of you attending this kickoff session. And I believe this is going to be a very exciting project for all of us. So thank you all. Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks, Aishwarya. Back to you.
Thank you, team. Fred, do we have anyone else from our team?
I don't believe so. I think that'll be Mirko next. I think Mirko was saying that he's got his slides as well, so he's very prepared. I don't think we've got anyone else from the team. So over to you, Mirko, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, please, Mirko.
All right, thank you. I'm Mirko Ibelshäuser with the UNDP Accelerator Labs. I do have a quick slide in the presentation too, where you see in a more nuanced way who I am, where I'm from. Currently based in New York, and I'll be the main focal point, so to say, for this energy visualization campaign that we did together with Viz For Social Good. And let me maybe just at this stage say thank you to all of us, for the organizing team and all of you on the call for joining us. This is going to be an exciting event, I hope, and with a huge learning opportunity on both ends, just for you, how to analyze the data that come in from social grassroots, and us to see what kind of connections and pattern we can draw out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirko. Do you have anyone from your team, Mirko? We can get them introduced as well.
Exactly. There's another colleague on my team present, but he's a bit in and out. It's a Sunday, so it's not everyone's favorite time. It's Jeremy Boy. He's just waving. Jeremy, if you would like to say a word.
Sure, I can open my mic, yeah. Hi, everyone. Super glad to be here, despite it being a Sunday. Yeah, really exciting. I see in the chat, truly a global community. It's great to see this. I'm Jeremy Boy. I'm also with the Accelerator Labs global team. I guess Mirko will talk a little bit more about the Accelerator Labs in a few minutes, so I won't say too much more. I'm lead data scientist in the team there. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you. Anyone else from your team, Mirko, or can we get started with the introduction of Viz For Social Good?
We can start. Thank you.
Thank you. So let me quickly share my screen. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Yep. So, what is Viz For Social Good? Before I give you a round of introduction about all about like how it works and stuff. So let me just give you a glimpse of what do we do really. So we harness the power of data visualization for a social change. We take non-profit organizations' data and give them an impactful data visualization so that they can use it for their strategy or any kind of a decision-making work. So how did we start? So the women behind this beautiful team and this beautiful idea is Chloe Seng. So she actually had she was coming up with a lot of data visualization, and she understood the power of visualization. So she wanted to use this for the social changes, so to address the social issues, and then she came up with this Viz For Social Good. So she is our founder, and how it typically works. Viz For Social Good collaborates with the non-profit organizations. We get their goals and finalize their data sets. And this project would be launched on the social media, and volunteers who have already registered in Viz For Social Good would receive email notifications. And then volunteers would work independently or join as a virtual, join as a team, and then come up with their data visualizations. They read through the data, they analyze, and from their standpoint, whatever they think like, it is very, very critical for the organization, they would bring it as beautiful visualizations for us. And once we receive all these visualization, volunteers basically share their work on the social media and submit their final visualization. Once we receive them, we'll be and UNDP team, for example, today. So non-profit will be reviewing all these submissions and figure out who are the best, the top 5 volunteers. Of course, all the volunteers visualizations are the best, but whatever the compelling ones that would be really helpful for them would be chosen by the non-profit organization, and the top 5 volunteers would be presenting their visualization during the live event. So Viz For Social Good team would be there from end to end, right from starting of this project till the submission of these visualizations, and help the nonprofit also to choose the volunteers to hand over their visualization, and we wrap up the projects. How are these visualizations can be used? This can be used in the annual reports, and this can also be posted in the social media platforms. They can embed it on their website. They can include it in their blogs, press releases. They can display it in their boardrooms, showcase it in their conference, executive level meetings, and for any kind of educational purposes, for example, a training workshop, or could be any kind of an event, and make it as a supporting material for any applications that would we would approach for grants and fundraising events. So these are all the various ways these visualizations can be used. And in the last 4 years, we had about 41 projects, and almost 924, more than 900 submissions, and we have approached about 55 countries. Basically, we have collaborated with 55 countries and 38 non-profit organizations. And these are all the main nonprofits that we have been supporting across the world, which is like NextGen, California, UNICEF, Hidden Genius Project, Kiran, etc. You can, of course, UNDP is also there. So here we have this board of directors. They have been, they are the pillar of this team. They were in and out on the clock running, like, all the weekdays they have been, apart from their work, they were always with us and constantly checking with people and answering questions and whatnot. They didn't even, I never thought that this team would be very, very active, because I'm not sure if I've been active that much, but this team is like very, very into this Viz for Social Good. So if you ping them any day, anytime, you will always get getting an answer from them. So we have David Pyers as Executive Director, Vanita Lucas. We have with, we have her with us today, and Neil Richards and Fred. You can see Fred here, and Amanda, Nisa, Mindy, and Charlene. And this is our board committee. We are sitting across the globe. I'm Aishwarya Sivakumar, APAC leader, Tiho. We have her with us today, and Candy. Kevin is part of the community for AMER, Aida from EMEA, and Soha for EMEA again, and Adrian as an operation committee member. There are few projects that has really made us proud. It is from the African Youth Organization, and these are all few visualizations that are that has actually, made an impact in the data visualization field and also in their organization. Just for your eyes. Okay. So how do we get involved? So before we look into how can you submit these visualization, first of all, if you'd like to volunteer, you just have to sign up as a volunteer, and you can also follow us in the LinkedIn and also in Twitter, and you can grab the data from our site. I'll just quickly go through our website and then tell you how can you start using the data and the projects to get involved. Just 1 minute. Let me quickly, I think I didn't open that. Just 1 minute. Okay. Fine, yeah. So you have to go to Viz For Social Good website and then click on projects. You can see the latest project up, and basically you will have the active projects available here. Whichever is over already, that will be striked out. So we have UNDP Accelerator Labs Network up for the visualization, to do the visualization. And we have the complete understanding of, at least a brief understanding of what are they doing, and what is all about UNDP, and what is this project is all about. They have given a set of project information, and what is that they want to do. I mean, what all the questions they want the volunteers to answer, those things are all given here. And also the audience would be the government partners, the international donor community, development practitioners, climate experts, academia, and the general public. They'll be using, they would be the audience for this project. And the data is given here. You can download it as an Excel file, and you can also download the images via Google Drive here. And key dates, the kickoff today, which is on October 2nd, which is live. The active project is available in the Viz For Social Good, and the deadline to submit these visualizations on October 23rd. So you have to click on the submission form and provide your details and submit your visualization. The live presentation will be on October 30. We would be selecting top 5 volunteers from the visualizations that we have received from the volunteers, and then we'll be announcing the top 5 volunteers and also the winner. And we have also given the Zoom link here. So this is about how can you navigate to the project and then start working on the data. Fred, do you want to add anything on top of this?
Not really. Something that we often maybe reinforce is we don't require any specific expert skills, so all levels are welcome. So beginners to experts, you can work in groups or individually, and you can pick any tools you want. Any business intelligence tools, that could be Tableau, Power BI, that could be PowerPoint, or even doing a video if you wanted, or drawing. So we're really free, as long as you, I guess, make sure you understand the requirement from the UNDP in that project, and you follow the brief. I think it's quite, you're welcome to basically be very creative. But no, that's it. So I've just pinged a question in the chat, just asking people to send me the email. That's all for getting access to Slack, but that's it.
Okay, thanks,
So good.
Fred.
Thank you.
Yep. One quick thing. If you are volunteering for this event, and if you have any questions, you can always follow us on Slack. We all be there to answer you, and we have Mirko and the UNDP team also be with us to answer all your questions and help you out in submitting your visualization. So if you want to add, if you want to be part of Slack, you can always email Fred, and you can put your email ID in the chat. So that would help us to add you to our Slack channel as well. Now it is over to UNDP team to provide you the brief introduction about their work and what all the challenges they are facing. All that would be discussed.
Yes, thank you so much, Aish. And Fred, for this introduction. It's always good to see how also people that are new be able to volunteer. And really, if you're on this call and you feel like you want to take this opportunity, I really encourage you to give it a shot. We're looking for a lot of diversity in submissions, and maybe you have something that we don't see, and I'm going to get to this later, but try it. I'm really encouraging all of you. Let me share the full screen, because that's easier for me to then switch between PowerPoint and websites. I'm just confirming that you see what I see. You currently see the big window with the presentation?
Yeah.
All right, great. Let me then just head into, and I'm trying to be quick and brief so that we really have the majority of the time now for Q&A. What I would quickly speak about is the introduction about me and the UNDP Accelerator Labs, then give you a bit of a background on our mission, why do we see value in the grassroots innovation for sustainable development, and then speak about the campaign, a bit of background, and dive into the data that we currently have. So who are we? Who are the Accelerator Labs? Who am I? I know I already mentioned this. I'm Mirko Ebelshäuser, program analyst with the Accelerator Lab Network. I'm originally from Germany, but in New York right now. I'm already part of the Slack channel. So if you are not, as Aish also mentioned, and Fred, drop your email, and then you'll be part of this Slack channel, where we already have a quick posting on a project discussion for today. And whenever you have a question, whenever you want to reach out, I guess this is the main way to do it. I'll be part of it, and I'll be supervising on our end whatever questions, communication, etc. is coming in. So please join and reach us and me here. But yeah, I'm part of the Accelerator Lab Network. So what is this? Who are we? Why are we here? We are a network of 91 social innovation labs all around the globe. We are serving, so to say, 115 countries to understand what grassroots innovation can do for sustainable development. Why are we doing this? In 2019, UNDP, as the UN Development Program, came to the realization that the current practice of development aid is not aligned with the challenges anymore that we're facing. Challenges are accelerating, they get more complex in nature, And the tools that we had in our hands were not able to adequately meet what we are faced with. So the Accelerator Labs were brought in order to understand how we can more quickly adapt to change. The COVID-19 pandemic, for example, was a good example of that, how we can accelerate learning of what works and what does not work in development, and how we can also strengthen internal capabilities within UNDP to be more, let's say, future-oriented. Each Accelerator Lab network has free lab members part of it. And this is insofar important because the head of solutions mapping, which is also the practice of solutions mapping, so the person that goes into the field and tries to understand from the communities what are the challenges they're facing and what solutions are they proposing to overcome those challenges. We try to elevate those insights and those innovations into the wider world of UNDP, but also within development aid in general. We also have a head of exploration, sort of capacity within data management, horizon scanning, as well as head of experimentation that is then in a simplified manner trying to validate the experiments and the solutions that we are finding in the field to understand if they're fit for purpose for scaling, for growing nationally or internationally. There's someone unmuted in the chat. Could you please just make sure everybody is muted? Thank you. So what is the value of grassroots innovation? Why do we do what we do? Why were we present in 91 countries? As I said, the pace of change is quicker than the development practice that it was from 2019. And we understood that people closest to the problems usually have a solution in hand. So why not tap into this distributed knowledge of 8 billion people to understand what do we actually do in order to overcome climate change, in order to overcome problems like urbanization and included gentrification. What can we do in order to overcome poverty, and hunger, and general wealth inequality? So grassroots innovation and working with the people on the ground brings us closer to the reality. It helps us to learn and validate experiments before going to scale. So it makes us itself more agile, and it brings in new partnerships and new ways to explore certain challenges. So when we, for example, when we look at informality and people working in the informal sector, it helps us to get in touch with those people because we recognize them as experts in the field. So we give agency to people on the ground, but also to people that are usually marginalized. One of our partnerships that we have, for example, in India with the Honeybee Network, Professor Anil Gupta always says, people at the margin are not marginal minds. So people usually working in those, let's say, extreme conditions have a huge amount of knowledge to contribute to us and to wider UNDP to understand what is the dimension we're actually dealing with and how can we overcome. So in order to explore then the grassroots, we have three main methods at hand that the Accelerator Lab Network and the labs itself are employing. So one is solutions mapping, which I said is one of the main ones where we really go into the field and try to understand and learn from communities how they deal with challenges and how they overcome their own challenges, but also what development in their perspective means. So we really try to localize our practice. Collective intelligence is about becoming smarter together. So how can we, from a distributed network of actors, learn and pool together what development can achieve and how we can, improve our impact. And then the idea of a portfolio of experiments, which comes in handy when we look at the energy campaign just now, because there's no one single solution to a problem, but usually there's multiple solutions to a problem that adheres to its multidimensionality. So how can we build a portfolio that has many interventions, but is focused on a singular challenge? So for example, if we speak about poverty, it's not about only creating jobs, but it's also creating inequalities, structural dimensions, improving public sector innovations, improving the job market. So there's many ways of looking at poverty and how to overcome it. So why did we do the Discover and Deploy Energy campaign? It's written also in a project doc, but as a quick background, UNDP set out in the Energy Compact, and that was ratified last year actually, that we want to increase access to affordable and clean energy for 500 million people by 2025. This so-called Mission Moonshot is a huge undertaking by UNDP, where we are committed to, reach 500 million people. But how do we do this? It's not necessarily from our perspective, as we are very localized in our thinking, to just build large energy grids to subsidize fossil fuels, or to build new generators and reactors in certain areas. We think it's about scaling existing solutions, not one solution to 500 million people, but maybe 50 solutions to 10 million people each. So with this distributed action, then we are also thinking that scaling is quicker to reach if you multiply it and if you distribute it, instead of having just one idea to scale. And the hypothesis that we had here is specifically that there are already existing solutions within conservation, augmentation, generation, storage, and distribution of energy, but these are not necessarily distributed yet or scaled at a large scale. We did this project so far together with the Honeybee Network that I mentioned. This is our project partner out of India, with the Columbia School for International Affairs. They did some background research for us, and we're working closely with the Sustainable Energy Hub of UNDP. That is another unit, but it's generally from an organizational point, the unit that is overseeing how we're going to reach 500 million people. We do and use those solutions to not necessarily only scale energy access, but we look at it from a multi-dimensional perspective. What can those solutions tell us, and what can those solutions teach us? So we try to obviously inspire policy at a public level. We do create a portfolio of experiments that helps us to understand, for example, how to increase access to renewable energy in a given context where maybe not one energy source is prevalent. Maybe there's solar, maybe there's wind, and maybe there's hydro. But how can these come together to achieve a certain, let's say, energification of a certain region? We're connecting ecosystems. We are trying to bring innovators together to create exchange, usually for innovations for public good, and thereby also mainly do-it-yourself innovations. It helps us to inform our own programming, make us more sensitive to what is out there, what works on the ground, but also helps us to stimulate new research agendas. So what is the R&D capability of UNDP? How can we learn from solutions, and how can we take them further, grow and scale? So over the course of 4 months, we had, 4 months ago, we issued a network-wide call for action with all our solution mappers in the labs to ask them, please go out into the field and have a look what grassroots energy solutions are available and how can we bring them together. So in 4 months, we mapped around 359 of those solutions across different demographics, regions, and energy sources. And here I'm going to jump into our internal platform to give you an idea what it looks like when we map solutions, and then we can look at the data together. So this is the internal solutions mapping platform that, with the help of Jeremy, our lead data scientist on the call, we have built, where we pull together all the energy solutions coming in from the grassroots, from the countries being mapped by the labs. We did, in the course of the campaign, we had a submission template. So we tried to follow a similar structure of information for every energy solution we map. But due to the nature of this being a global call, not all solution or not all information was equally available per solution. But for example, if we look at Argentina, they have mapped a solution from biogas, biofertilized combined system to improve agriculture, for example. We usually ask what is the name of the solution holder, and I'm using this one as this is we have consent to show this information publicly. So we ask for the name of the solution holder, the preferred contact way, if the solution is linked to any affiliation in country, usually if it's part of the government, if it's part of the private sector, if it's already being part of the UN in some way or other actors in the field. What is the purpose of the solution? So here specifically, what is the problem that the solution is trying to address, and what is the solution in itself? So how does they want to overcome the challenge that they're facing? some pictures. Those you have also linked into the data matrix that we jump into quickly. If there's a public link, and then some more qualitative information. If this solution is either do-it-yourself, open source, or if it's IP protected, if the solution holder will be able to train others, meaning scaling internally. So in case it's a DIY solution, we can transfer that solution to another region, to another demographic, and will that solution holder be able to train that person? What is the unit cost in producing? So if it's a prototype, what would be the cost associated to replicate? Then again, the question if it's a prototype or a product, if it's available in market, a technological readiness level. So that is a scale from 0 to 9, 9 being the highest, 9 being it's readily available to scale. And then you go down in different levels depending on the system in itself. So at what stage is the development process? Has it been diffused? And then are there any challenges in diffusing or scaling? But also what are the cost per kilowatt hour? So this is something we, for example, have everywhere, but sometimes. And then some meta information. So where's the location of where was the solution mapped? What are the goals that the solution is addressing? The sustainable development goals, there are 17 in total. What are thematic tags inputted by the mapper? So this is a solution that refers to renewable energy, biogas, biofertilizer, and then an IP consent form for us that we are allowed to share this publicly. And so we have mapped, around 360 are in the current matrix. It shows 430, but that's just because we did have some duplications that I filtered out. And what we made available for you to work in is precisely this overview. It looks a bit confusing at first, maybe, but I tried to be as clear as possible to showcase how we understood the data and what this data is telling us. So you find, if you first land of it, a glossary where we have, and that's just now we have the glossary showcasing every tab and column in the matrix, explaining quickly what this means. So similarly, as I just went through the actual mapping template, this is basically reproduced. So here you'll find a description of the technology readiness level. You have a description of the sustainable development goals, all 17 in total. The energy tags that we used and have been used, what the column of images mean, etc. So the glossary is a good way to start to understand what this data is telling us before actually heading into, because it probably answers a few questions that come. So when we then look into the data in itself, we do have a tag for the first 2 rows, a tag for the energy source and the clean cooking application. This was introduced by us from UNDP. This was not mapped on the ground. We did this in an effort to pre-filter or pre-understand what the solutions that are coming in telling us. So we do have already some way of looking at whether the source for the solution that is generating energy is thermal, wind, hydro. Is it renewable in general? So is it not necessarily a solution that is focused on a singular energy source, but maybe uses multiple? And is it a household application? The household application tag is interesting because we looked at what sort of clean cooking solutions did we map. This was an ask from the Sustainable Energy Hub, not so much important for you, just mentioning it here that we did a filter on clean cooking, but we generally look at all the solutions in its entirety and try to understand what they tell us. Then you have the title. What is the solution called? The mapper, which Accelerator Lab mapped this solution. So this is currently from A to Z filtered. So these solutions are come from the lab in Angola. All these come from the lab in Argentina. We have one from Azerbaijan, Bangladesh, etc. Here would be the name of the solution holder, the innovator, but we have it anonymized for the sake of privacy. What is the purpose? The brief problem description that I mentioned and showcased just now. A link to the solution. That is only the case if there is a public link available that is that we're allowed to use. Then is the solution do-it-yourself or open source? Is the solution protected by intellectual property? And every time when there is a cross, that means that this applies. So this is actually an and/or question. That's why it's split. But the X means that this solution is do-it-yourself open source. If the X would be here, then the solution would be protected by intellectual property. If we go through, it follows a similar manner. Is the solution holder able to train end users? Yes or no. So an X means yes. What is the unit cost? So here you usually have then a cost indicated, but as I said, not always available or unsure. Is the solution a prototype or is it a product? Again, the X qualifies which solution, which category applies. Is the solution available in the market? Has order to be given the technological readiness level? Has it been diffused, etc. So pretty straightforward. And then lastly, what are the sustainable development goals this solution is addressing? So here we have the possibility of uploading five sustainable development goals, and the number here indicates which goal is meant. So this is the SDG goal 1, this is SDG goal 10, etc., etc. And then the thematic area tags that have been introduced by the levers, the location of the solution, and the images. The image files are on the Google Drive externally. So you would, if you want to work with the energy files, you would need to map them against the column and the row and the Excel. But that's, I leave up to you. And then one last thing that I just want to point out here, and then we can head into what we're looking for in the Q&A. I see there's some questions in the chat already. UNDP, because of its political nature, we don't necessarily look at geographies and regions based on the continent, but based on its political affiliation. So if you want to look, for example, and categorize from which region solutions are coming from, let's say you want to work on a map, there are certain restrictions that might not necessarily make sense for everyone. So we do have countries from the Regional Bureau of Africa, for example, but here Sudan would not be counted within the Bureau for Africa, but would be counted to the Bureau for Arab States because of its religious character. Same goes for Asia Pacific, Europe, and Latin America. So please, if you want to work on a location-based analysis, try to use the political affiliation as mentioned here if you categorize those solutions and those energy solutions. So quickly what we're looking for, that's the last bit, and then I'll stop talking, I promise. We did have in the project doc that you find on the website of Viz For Social Good, our call to actions. Here are some guiding questions on what we're looking for, but we are of course not limited at what we're looking for. These are guiding questions that we thought help you to start exploring the data, but we really ask you to go creative because we are also interested in what information behind the data can we see. What is the ratio between a certain challenge that is being addressed and its level of technological readiness? Or are there patterns of, let's say, solar solutions that are more prone to be do-it-yourself or more prone to be IP protected? So we really try to look at this data as a repository of information that is not just yes and no, but those solutions naturally tell us something about the context. It's of course a bit more difficult to understand context from afar, but maybe you try, maybe you'll be able to see patterns, maybe you're able to see connections between regions, maybe in a specific region within the African continent, there's a more prevalence of solar solutions, whereas then in another region, there's a higher prevalence of hydro or thermal powered solutions. And why is that so? Is it because communities naturally have more access to technology, or because communities have more access to certain forms of fertilizers, gas, methane that they can utilize to create energy? We don't know, but we're asking you to maybe explore the data and let us know. Because, and that is the sort of brownie point, the gimmick that we really wanna put out if you choose amongst the top 5 that we have presented at end of October, you can be expected that your visualization will be used by our global campaign towards the United Nations Climate Change Conference on November 6th. So we will make sure to credit you rightfully when we use your visualization for our social media and global advocacy campaign, but also if we do so in our annual report, we will have a report for the energy campaign specifically. So this is really also an invitation for you to come and show us what we can learn from this data, and we then try to elevate and help you to get recognition and credit as appropriate. So I think this is a good deal, win-win on both ends, I hope. And I hope you have fun in exploring the data together with us. So let me just stop screen sharing here, and we can jump into the questions in the chat maybe, so that I have an overview of how much I have confused all of you, or if I have been clear in my deliberations. Thank you.
Mirko, there was a question in the chat from Zenab. You were showing that your internal mapping website, and I think Zenab was asking if volunteers are going to give access, but I guess the data covers exactly what we saw on the page. Is that right? They say the same.
Exactly. So the Excel sheet is basically a download of the internal overview that we just saw. At this stage, I'm not able to give access publicly, since it's also around protection of privacy and data security, because there, of course, we have mentioned everything from the innovator's name, from background information to the solution, that at times we don't have consent to share from the innovator. So they were happy, for example, to share that with us for internal learning and maybe connecting to other units, but not openly, because some of them are also IP protected. So sadly, I can't, but the Excel sheet is basically a mirroring of the same, just doesn't look as visually appealing, I understand.
But that's going to change.
It's going to change. Yes, I hope so. Very much.
And some people were asking about where we find the SDG goals, and we put a couple of links on the chat. I guess you can, if it's probably easy, just go online and just type SDG goal or UNDP goals, and you find them. There's information about the 17 goals in there. We can put the link in the project webpage. It's probably the best, is it, Mirko? Just there's no specific way.
It's also in the glossary of the Excel sheet. I have a link. So maybe just sharing this again to make sure. So here I went through each column basically from the start of the data sheet to the back. And there's when, for example, this is column W1 to AA1, which is the same as here, W1 to AA1. And then there's the link to all the goals, a quick explanation. And basically, this is the way I went through all of the rows and columns and put it in the glossary so that it's sort of understandable what we mean, because I understand that coming from the outside, not everything is super clear, but I try to be as clear as here. And then again, in case it's not clear, always feel free to reach out on Slack. And we'll be there and try to answer as quickly as possible.
Cool. There's a quick question from Moriam in the chat. We are recording the event, the call, Moriam. So I'm going to be posting the link back to Slack. So no worries if you need to for your class, we can share the recording later. And also, Sion on the question about can we supplement your data with other data for the Viz? My gut feels yes, you can use other data, but Mirko, can volunteers use data from other places?
So this is a tricky question, insofar as the internal campaign that we ran was basically solution member going into the communities and mapping energy solutions. So in that regard, we do have sort of an enclosed reference of data, because if we would take data from elsewhere to complement, if it's not linked to the solution per se, then we couldn't necessarily either guarantee its rightfulness. We cannot necessarily say that this is coming from the network, because then it would be a bit too broad. But for example, if there is a specific solution mentioned and the unit cost is not mentioned, but its public documentation provides its unit cost, then of course you're able to supplement. So supplementing gaps in the existing data for sure, adding new entries to the data, not so sure. If that makes sense.
Does it make sense, Yuma? Cool.
All right.
There was also a question from Gerard, and maybe it's a question for Jeremy. I don't know if Jeremy, you saw the question on the chat, whether you're looking for exploratory type of data viz or explanatory type of data viz, or both, or you tell us. Please explain.
Sure, I guess I can take a stab at this. I mean, the quick answer is both. Honestly, we're kind of open to what you can come up with. Maybe, again, I'll echo what Mirko said. I don't want to prime you too much as to what to look for and so on. But one thing that I would find particularly interesting is something more exploratory with all the images. So Mirko showed you, just the table there, but each of the solutions are associated with one or several images. It would be interesting to typically in an exploratory viz be able to navigate through the corpus of images. So I think, yeah, it's really up to you if you have the skills and want to dig into something a bit more interactive, a bit more exploratory, that's great. If there are some very clear trends and patterns, as Mirko was suggesting, then maybe something more explanatory is great as well. So short answer, up to you. Both are of interest to us.
And adding to this, maybe since the data is being used also for an advocacy purpose, the more clear, the more easy to understand for, let's say, outsiders, the more better for us, because we want to really use this opportunity with the climate change conference and our, let's say, advocacy campaign and social media campaign and everything we're going to do to make people understand that there is value at the grassroots, that there is a way of accessing and working together with people on the ground to achieve such a big moonshot of connecting 500 million people. So both, exactly, but maybe also from a use case perspective, it's helping us a lot if there's, let's say, a clear narrative, a clear point that you're trying to make through your visualization.
Cool. Do you have any more questions? And thanks, Tian and Doc, also answering the question in the chat, the volunteers from Viz For Social Good. I appreciate the help. Any more questions from volunteers? Or future volunteers, beginners, experts? That's your time. Doc has a
Actually,
question.
Mirko, I was just going to say, very powerful what you said, that, marginal people in marginal communities don't necessarily have marginal minds. Like, that was just so powerful. I love it. So do you get to hear the voice of those folks, like through your exercises and from surveys? And just curious, like what some of the anecdotes are either before or after these solutions have been implemented?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, mainly through our distributed network of solutions mappers on the ground. They are more close than me sitting in New York. I'm always only getting like the tip of the iceberg, sort of the sort of beautified information. But we see a lot of value and a lot of appreciation for the fact that, for the first time in development, probably an organization like UNDP has purposefully established a structure that is reaching out to the people, that is not necessarily understanding, okay, people come to us, tell us what the problem is, but we are going into the communities, into the remotest areas, sometimes in a country possible, understanding that there is value and expertise that we need to draw out. And a lot of things that we learn, I think, wouldn't necessarily qualify for development intelligence from a more traditional perspective. But those anecdotal evidences, those understanding that, for example, we did a big project, this is now a bit of an anecdote, but we did a few big projects on collective intelligence and informal waste management structures in different communities in different countries. And one of our labs gave an informal worker a sensor to map their GPS route, thereby understanding which areas in a community are served through either public infrastructure or served through informal workers. And we found out that 70% of waste management and waste cycle circles are sometimes covered by informal workers, not by the governments. And that then helps us to, say, look, you need to do better. It cannot only be the people in itself. So yeah, it's very powerful. And just the quote of people at the margin are not marginal minds comes from Anil Gupta. I was just rephrasing him. I don't want to take credit for his words. But he works with the Honeybee Network, and they have a huge network of local innovators and communities. Yeah,
but I write so much.
So thank you.
Okay.
This question from Mariam. Did you see this one? Do you want to answer?
Yeah, I just read it. So, I mean, obviously you can reach me the best through Slack. I'm there, and Frederick just tagged me in Slack. If you want to reach me more formally, if you would wish, I'm dropping my email in the chat, so you can also reach out to write an email. But I might just need a few more minutes to respond to an email, then I can respond to a Slack. So up to you, but both ways are fine.
I mean, Slack is preferable because sometimes your response is beneficial to all. So yeah, okay. If every stick was, and if there's really something difficult, perhaps, channel it through Frederick, because we don't want you to get bombarded with too many emails either. So.
Okay, then decided Slack, please.
Maybe just a quick comment about people who have never done submissions before. If you're not too sure where to start, and then you need extra help to get started, whether you work in teams or on your own, reach out on Slack, and maybe we can find you a volunteer that's done submissions before, like as a buddy. So we can run other sessions and try to explain you the details. But if you're a beginner, don't be afraid to ask questions, and then someone will be able to help you as well. Any more questions about for Mirko, UNDP, the lab in general? We got a couple of minutes left in the call.
I think Mariam has mentioned something like Slack is causing some technical problems in general for joining new workspaces. Mariam, I think you can send across your email ID to us. So we'll try to add you back, and let's see if it is working out. And I think you will be able to email Fred or the Viz For Social Good team on this. Sure, Joseph, I think Fred would have noted down your email ID, and
yeah, drop me your email again, just in case I've missed it, but there were quite a few, so I might have missed it. So just if you maybe drop your email again, I can double check.
Fred, do you want me to save this chat as well? Because if we have, okay, yeah, let me quickly share this, save this chat. Okay. Fine. Any other questions, team? Volunteers? Okay, just to reiterate on the procedure, you have to sign up as a volunteer if you are willing to submit your visualizations, and follow us on Slack for any kind of questions or any kind of support from us. And also you have to, if you are submitting the visualizations, you have to click on the Google form and submit it through the form, and don't forget to post it in your social media, so that we can retweet it, and also we'll have it will be easy for your visibility, and people will start looking at your profile, and that will also create a good kind of network in the social media. And if anyone has missed their, I mean, if you're not in Slack channel, please feel free to email us on about your email ID. We'll be adding you back to the Slack channel. All the very best, volunteers. We'll see you on October 30th. So the last day to submit your visualizations is on October 23rd. So thank you so much. Is it anything else, Fred, that we have to cover?
No, really. Just don't be shy. Ask question on Slack. Reach out to the volunteers. Reach out to Mirko. Ask questions. And then be creative. I think that's you heard Mirko and then Jeremy. Be creative. Use the data and then come up with great stuff.
Yeah, can't wait to see all of your visualizations, impactful visualizations. And thank you so much, team, UNDP team. It's our pleasure to have you here once again. And thanks, everyone. Thank you, all the volunteers. Thank you, Viz For Social Good team. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Have a good morning, night, afternoon.
Likewise. Thank you.
Bye.
It's already Monday for me.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
See you. Bye, Chi. Thanks, Ash.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Talk to you soon. Okay, can you say a couple of minutes, please?
Sure.
When people have left.
Sure.
Thanks.
I'm not able to stop this recording. Do you have?
So you can't. Is it because? Where is it?